Hey guys, what is up? It's Dusty here, and welcome back to another crypto video. I have noticed, guys, that on this channel, one of the comments I see very often is that people are shaming me for still holding XRP, and my question of today is exactly that. Are you guys still holding your XRP too? Or in a different sense, have you actually bought any XRP in the recent past here? Let me know in the comment section down below because, well, you most likely know, I haven't sold any. And the main reason behind that is because I still believe in the vision, nothing has changed, and I've explained it in the previous video, the risk to reward is looking extremely beautiful. If you're wondering why I have a long position open right now with a small amount of leverage, is because with this trade, my liquidation price is 47 cents. And I will actually adjust this towards the downside if the price goes lower, below 65 cents. And my plan is to always have an XRP long open. Again, I'm using Bybit for that because there's also a couple of bonuses on here for free. I always want to have a long open for in case we actually go up like crazy. I don't do this with shorts. I don't do this with just any asset, but I do this with XRP and sometimes with Bitcoin too, just because I know those will go up in value in due time. They might go down for a little bit, but eventually it'll come back up. Again, one of the reasons why I'm so excited about them obviously has to do with that risk to reward, where Ripple has obviously got this lawsuit going on. If they win it, the price, in my opinion, in my own thoughts, is going to go crazy. And if it loses, the majority of the cryptos in the space will most likely fall anyway, because almost no other crypto except for Bitcoin then is safe. Now, another side, of course, is also this ecosystem that's being built, and I just watched this interview with David Schwartz. It's really freaking good. And I was trying to write down the specific points that he talked about, but I'm going to either have to do another wholly specific video on it or something like that, because it would take me another hour to explain his 1 hour of explanations. It's a lot of information to get into your head. I tried my best to just pinpoint different stuff, but it's really best if you watch it for yourself, or let me know in the comments section down below and I'll make a summary video in like 10 minutes or so, but it's difficult, all right? There's just so many facts. And here was one part of the video. Amazon could definitely use the XRP ledger's federated sidechains, according to the Ripple CTO. So this part right here is actually about sidechains and what the capability / functionality is and why exactly you'd want to have it. One easy thing to understand there is sidechains are, in this specific sense here, good because you don't, if you want to have you want to propose a change to the network, for example, you want hidden transfers or stuff like that, you can't just implement it into the entire main net, so to speak, because, well, people don't really want to, in the main chain, because people don't really accept it because they're really hesitant to change and it's not that simple to get it in. But you could implement it on the side chain, show that it worked for example, 6 months, show it's really, sturdy or robust, whatever, and then put up a new proposal. It might work a little bit easier. But he's also talking about Cbdc being built on these side chains, which are private. Then Thinking Crypto asked him if those had to then have a bridge, which is basically XRP. He explained, no, we can't force it upon any bank. All the banks have different technology right now, and all of them, if they were all the same, would all be so easy. But he says that basically within time, a lot of those would just have to adopt this newer technology, and blockchain is really better than just one centralized ledger, basically. He had a whole explanation for that, but let's just summarize to blockchain is really better. They will come on piece by piece, and he just thinks that eventually a lot of them will just kind of switch over, which will make others switch over, and they'll just find a lot of issues which are just easier to fix with XRP and then come crawling into it. But again, if you kind of think about it, you can't really force people to do it. And then, of course, there's also other entities which could definitely use these side chains to just function. It's something I haven't really thought about because I didn't understand sidechains too severely before, but now watching this interview and reading that article from like last week or so, which I also kind of summarized, is that a word? Summarized for you guys a little bit earlier. By the way, I'm not a native English speaker, don't forget that. And I have a pretty good grasp. Amazon could potentially use the XRP ledger's federated sidechains for its blockchain service, according to the Ripple CTO David Schwartz. The executive told Thinking Crypto that the e-commerce giant certainly has the required infrastructure to make it happen. And this actually referred to banks to a certain degree as well. There's really a big difference in infrastructure, he has said, and he said that over the last 10 years of them selling software to banks, he's noticed that some are using some really old stuff and they're all using different stuff, and it really takes, some, I guess, how can you call it the best way? It takes a lot of effort for you, for example, as Xrpl as a company, to let all these guys that you're going to work with adopt this newer tech. Because I can also kind of imagine that some of these banks, for example, in Japan or stuff like that, where, again, a lot of the websites and stuff are outdated as crazy too, that some of them just run on some really, really old software that just runs properly, and they don't really want to change it. Now, from that perspective, Amazon is such a quote-unquote recent company, and it's so kind of universal throughout their company because they're not like it's just different than a bank, that I do believe their infrastructure in the way that it's been built up is, really quite compatible with this newer technology. Amazon could definitely, they certainly have the infrastructure to make this happen. What we need to do is create software that's clean and organized enough, then I think it could be very competitive. Now, is this going to happen? Nobody really knows, but it's possible. And the architect of the XP Ledger, David Schwartz, says that he would like to get to the point where it's very, very easy to build on top of the platform, which again could be a hint of what is coming. Make sure you understand, though, that whatever the architect of the XP Ledger wants doesn't mean it's actually going to, pull through. He might propose an idea, but they need an 80% majority for 2 weeks to actually get a change done. And the majority of the changes are actually rejected because, again, there's extra vulnerability and whatnot, so it's almost always that they're risk averse and they'll just reject it unless you can really prove the benefit. And this might, though. It might, right? Earlier this month, Schwartz proposed adding federated sidechains to implement smart contracts without affecting the security of the XP Ledger, which to me is interesting, how you can propose that without adding another threat to security or without adding such a new huge load. No pun intended. Then again, since the XRP Ledger already has no real reward, there's no real incentive to be a validator, I sometimes think, yeah, well, these guys don't really care, right? They're here for the network anyway, so if something makes it better, the extra cost doesn't really matter to them. He predicts that decentralized finance is going to be the biggest use case, and Schwartz points out that it's up to the community to decide whether the XRP Ledger needs a new feature, since it's not a Ripple thing. Quote, we don't have a secret agenda. This is not going to succeed if it's just a Ripple thing because, again, the people wouldn't really accept it, and that's the truth behind it. Then also a multi-currency world. Schwartz claims there's no world where people wouldn't need multi-cross payments. Even if Bitcoin were to take over, he says that there would still be the need for a liquidity, which is where XRP comes into play. The crypto could serve as the liquidity of last resort, according to Schwartz, and he went on a whole rant, and I believe this part too, or I think 2 times he went talking about liquidity, but specifically this part right here, he talked about how banks right now are doing that and how a dollar is a certain word I didn't understand. There was a difficult English word, I had to look it up, but I forgot already. He basically said that a dollar, you can have a dollar in a lot of different places, but you're not always sure that if you have a dollar, that the other person can actually get it. And with XRP, he kind of gave the thing of, if you have XRP and I have XRP, if you have XRP, it's almost certainty that you'll be able to give it to that person, that the other person will be able to receive it. With the dollar, it's actually a lot more difficult. And I mean, there's some truth to that. If you, for example, have a dollar cash, good luck getting it to the other side of freaking, I don't know, Antarctica, right? It's going to be pretty damn difficult if there's no post, no flights and whatnot, right there. I guess for XP, there needs to be some internet, but you guys get the picture, right? You guys get the idea that there's just, with the dollar, it can be a lot more difficult. Same thing as well, if you have it in your investment account, okay, then the dollar, getting it out there is kind of difficult sometimes. It's basically the point he brought up. And, well, even though some of these platforms can, I guess, transfer dollar to euro easily, for example, through JP Morgan, he said they could provide liquidity. If there's some really obscure pair or some pair that nobody really wants or nobody can really provide liquidity for, well, then again, XP comes into play, which is, again, what they will see throughout the journey. That's just some of the points that he brought up, which I just really like this whole entire interview, man. Just check it out for yourself. If you have some time left, it's really, really worth it, as you most likely know. By the way, guys, if you're not following me just quite yet, I still recommend you all to follow me over on Twitter. It is TheDustyBC. And if you're not subscribed to this YouTube channel yet, I also recommend you to do that right now. All right, I had a ton of articles as well talking about this Bitcoin rally in some way, shape, or form. Bitcoin is gearing up to pull a 2013 style rally on the market according to the new stock to flow data. Now, I just want to quickly tell you guys, if you're wondering, I firmly believe that crypto will see higher points than we are witnessing right now. I do, however, also believe that this model might just work, meaning we're just gonna go in waves, go in flows, and we can deviate from the line, but the line, generally speaking, is how we're going to be moving. And I, again, as an econometrician, I firmly believe that this, to some degree, would just fill itself through, if you guys know what I mean, right? It will just fill itself out, go with the flow, keep getting higher. Red Capital posted, BTC's phenomenal recovery over the past few days means that the potential death cross has been pushed back to late July. Not the truth, you actually don't know. This could still happen within like a day or so, or two, depending on how low Bitcoin crashes, right? Because the death cross, it's when the 50 EMA, also known as the short-term average prices, are lower than the 200 EMA or the longer-term average prices. And of course, there's a little bit more bias for the 50 to move than the 200. So if there's a huge crash, the 200 and the 50 will move because it's going to take the average down. But logically, the 50 will move a lot more significantly because you're only taking an average of 50 days with one big outlier now than 200, which again, the outlier might kind of be negated for. And that's again the point here. If Bitcoin crashes towards like, I don't know, $10,000, boom, there's an instant death cross, right? Not exactly sure if that's enough in terms of deviation, but you guys get the picture. So you can't say this has been pushed back to late July because it's going to depend on what the Bitcoin is doing. I mean, so I don't know exactly why people like this type of stuff. It's freaking dumb. Then again, he's just talking about the course that it is going at right now for the last like 2 days or so, which again is something I really recommend you guys not to do. It can still actually be so that the death cross never even happens, because if the price just keeps recovering from now, it's not going to happen. But it's a difficult one to really spot. By the way, guys, over on Bybit right now, there's $1,710 worth of bonuses. And if you're wondering, again, why I still have it open, I think there's more money to be made by just keeping it open. Even though it costs me some money to just have the trades, right? Sometimes it does cost you because you're lending money to do it with leverage. I only put in $1,000. I'm trading with $2,500. Again, you can trade up to some huge amounts of leverage. You can check it here, 50 on this XRP pair. I do it 2.5 because it's a little bit less risky, but it just depends on exactly what I'm doing, right? The reason I'm just keeping this open is, again, because I think if the price keeps going up in due time, it can go to 50 cents, right? I'm still going to be in this position, so I don't care. As long as it doesn't go below 47, or I can actually buy back cheaper to get this price lower and lower and lower, I can still be in it, and again, just buy my way down to, get a lot of gains once we go back up. And I think a long position is going to help for that, so yeah. Hopefully you all enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you press the like button and subscribe, and I will definitely see you guys again in another crypto video later today.